Hi, and welcome to creating your first Microsoft project schedule. And in this course, we're going to be talking about working within Microsoft Project and developing your first project schedule. This is more for a course for a person that's new to Microsoft Project, haven't used Microsoft Project. There's some things in here that just in terms of just getting yourself familiar with the program. So it's going to be very basic. It's going to get down to the very small details about just creating your first project schedule so you can feel comfortable moving on within Microsoft Project on your own. So I'm Tony Grant. I'm the instructor for this course, and we're going to be covering a lot of different topics, and I'm going to show you what exactly we're going to be covering. So in this particular course, we're going to start off with starting from scratch and developing your project schedule using Microsoft Project, getting familiar with the tool itself, and then we're going to dive right into creating a work breakdown structure. So we're going to talk about that. That'll be the next lesson we'll be talking about is what is a work breakdown structure and how do we use that to develop our schedule. Next, we're going to be getting familiar with the tool, looking at Microsoft Project, and setting it up using just some of the settings that we have to do within Microsoft Project so we can actually start building up our schedule. Out of the box, Microsoft Project has some settings, and we just want to make sure that we have the proper settings in place for building our schedule. Next, we're going to dive right into building up task and summary task. We're going to put that right into Microsoft Project and talking about what are tasks and what are summary tasks. Those are all going to go within Microsoft Project. We're going to start getting our hands into the actual program. We're going to add some resources, and when we talk about resources, we're talking about people. In this particular course, we don't really cover material resources. We do cover that in other places, but in terms of this course, we're talking about people. And most of the time when you're developing a schedule, you're going to be working with people only in your schedule and within Microsoft Project. So that's the topic we'll be covering. Move on to linking task. And then linking task means we're going to take tasks and link them together. So it's basically creating a chain of events so that you can actually say what are the relationships between the different tasks, and it actually can draw up the full schedule. Lastly, when we're developing our schedule, we're going to identify milestones. Milestones are key events within the project itself. We're going to put those within Microsoft Project, and we'll have completed our schedule. And that'll take us on to then we'll move on to some advanced topics within this course. So within the advanced topics, we'll be talking about some things like identifying the critical path and what exactly is the critical path and why is that important within your project schedule. We'll be talking about how to add more tasks. So we actually developed our schedule, and sometimes it gets a little tricky in terms of how do you go back and add more tasks to the schedule or actually delete tasks. So that's going to be a very critical topic that we need to cover as well. We're going to do some work on terms of our resources and doing some research in terms of our resources, and we'll be looking at how do we look at what our research usage is, how many people we're going to be using throughout the project, things like that. That'll be some of the topics that we'll cover within that section. And then we're going to move on to some advanced task linkages, some things that you may or may not want to do within Microsoft Project that Microsoft Project allows you to do. So Microsoft Project is a very flexible tool, but you might want to do some of these task linkages that they have in there. And then I'm going to close off with some best practices and just a closing on this course. So let me just give you a little idea of who I am and about myself. I'm a certified project manager, and I have over 20 years of experience in project management. I've been using Microsoft Project in many industries. I've been using this program since they had a Microsoft Project 1998. That was one of the earliest versions of this program, and the tool has kind of evolved over the time period, and there has been some additional things. But for the most part, the main structure of the program in Microsoft Project has stayed the same since 1998. It really hasn't changed that much. So we're going to talk about that. Moving on, let's talk about starting from scratch and what is Microsoft Project and what is scheduling. So typically, Microsoft Project uses Gantt charts to show your schedule. A Gantt chart is really something that is a graph that shows your linkage of tasks from beginning to end. You're probably familiar with these type of things where you're just showing bar charts and they show on the right hand side where you have a little bar chart that shows how your tasks are all going to link up, and it's kind of used to determine what is your plan going forward. How are you going to actually accomplish the work that you need to do for this particular project? So you show that within a Microsoft Project Schedule or within a Gantt chart, whatever tool you're using, to just say, this is how I'm going to accomplish my work. This is how I'm going to get from point A to point B to my end on this particular project. Now, the tools that I particularly use, I use Microsoft Project, of course, but I'm also going to show you some things that I do within Excel. I also use Excel. That's another resource that we use, and also obviously PowerPoint, so that you can actually present the project in your schedule. So those are the basics in terms of scheduling. So one of the things, let's talk about how does scheduling really happen. Really, you start off a lot of times with you have a charter, you have constraints, where someone tells you we need to do a project for this particular engagement that we have. So you have a charter, and it tells you particular constraints that you need to abide by. Well, it needs to get done by a certain time frame, and you have this budget or so on. So you sit down and you say, well, I'm going to start mapping this out and seeing what it looks like. Well, you may work within Microsoft Project, or you may just work within something else, and just to actually just start mapping it out as a project manager. But you don't have all the details, so you need to meet with the stakeholders. And that's where you're going to find more information in terms of how to develop your schedule. You're going to meet with like different department managers and telling you, well, we don't have certain people in the months of April or May because they're busy doing an audit or something like that. So when you meet with those people, you'll find out the information that you need to actually develop a schedule. And that's what we're going to be talking about in terms of how do we get to that schedule? How do we get that within Microsoft Project? We have all the information already from our stakeholders. We have all the information that we need. And now we're going to start working within Microsoft Project. So that's what we're going to cover in this course. And next time when we get together, we'll be talking about the work breakdown structure. So I'll see you there. Thank you.